Are you excited about the idea of getting booked on more podcasts to share your message, to attract more leads, to grow your business? I'm Angel Tuccy. I'm the founder of the Need a Guest podcast network, and I'm super excited to talk to you about how to share your message and the benefit of sharing your message on more podcasts. Now, I've been running this Facebook group and this community for the last several years. My background is in radio and broadcasting, doing media and PR for my clients. And over the last 15 months, I've been solely focused on helping my clients connect with podcast hosts, helping podcast hosts find great guests, and great guests connect with podcast hosts. And what that's turned into is an incredible network and a community of podcast hosts who reach out to me personally to say, Angel, I need a guest. Hence the name Need a Guest for our podcast community. That's how it started. I needed a place to bring my community together, my network together. So somebody would say, Angel, I need a guest. I'm like, oh, you should connect with this person. And I would just DM and I would put people together all the time. Decided to start the community because then I would say, could you just post that in the group and I'll tag the people that I think would be a great fit. And today that group has crossed over we're about to hit 40,000 members before the end of the year. And we've grown it. We've doubled it, almost tripled it in size in the last year and a half. And I'm super proud of it. And what I'm most proud of is the network and the community that we have created. So when people come to me and say, Angel, I want to be a guest, I want to get booked on more stages, I want to get my message out, I can absolutely connect you instantly with someone inside of our community to help you find that stage and to get booked right away. It works really well if you already have a message, if you already know, like I've been out speaking, I've been getting booked on podcasts, I know what I sell, I have a following, I have a platform, I have an email list. Like if I have all of these things, I just need more visibility. If more people heard of me, right? And this is the thing with businesses. The challenge is we're just not talking to enough of the right people on a regular basis. With the onset of podcast guesting, being a guest on podcasts, you can now easily be a guest on a podcast once, twice, as many times a week as your schedule will allow. The cadence we take our clients through and encourage them to maintain is 2 podcasts a week. What that equates to is 50 podcasts over the course of 6 months. Imagine if you could be in front of 50 podcast hosts, 50 audiences over the next 6 months. What impact will you make in the community? What would that do for your business to consistently get out there every single week? Consistently is the key here, right? Every single week, if I'm a guest on 2 podcasts, and I have been doing this for years myself, and this is the exact method I have been teaching my clients, even my PR clients, before we were all focused on podcasts, I would tell them 2 stages a week, 2 interviews a week, get in front of 2 audiences, other people's audiences, twice a week to expand and grow your network. The number one reason most people come to us because they want to get booked on podcasts is to generate leads. The challenge is there's so many different things that you've been doing that I've been doing, right? To build leads, to attract more leads. I've done one-on-one networking, right? Sending DMs out on social media, right? All the different things. You think about all the things that you do to attract leads. Social media is a big one, right? But what are, referral partners, speaking on stages, collaborative marketing, stage swaps? I mean, there's so many different things that we can be doing to attract leads. The benefit of podcasting is it's not noisy, right? You're the only guest on that stage. So as the audience is listening, there isn't a lot of other things vying for their attention at the same time. Most likely, they are actively listening to that podcast because they are actively doing something else physically with their body, not with their eyes, not being distracted and scrolling, but their body. So I'm working out, maybe I'm commuting, I'm walking the dog, right? I'm doing something while actively listening, which means I'm connecting more deeply with the audience because they're hearing my voice while their brain is, or while their body is doing something else. It's also, being a podcast guest is the most visual platform that you can be on. Wait a minute. Did I just say if they're listening, that's the most visual medium? Yep, that wasn't a mistake. The reason it's most visual is their brain is connecting the dots and creating the images. And those images are incredibly powerful, far more powerful than watching. The other thing is, people have more time in their day to listen to a podcast than they do to sit and watch a webinar, watch a video, sit and read a book, go through a workshop, right? They can take it with them on the go. And 80% of podcasts episodes are listened to completion, which means I might put it down and pick it back up, but 80% of episodes are finished to completion. So it's a really great way for you to reach your target audience consistently, deeply connect with them by sharing your voice, and to create the most vivid, powerful imaging, right? Because they're connecting those images and creating those images in their brain. So if you think about all the things that you want to do when it comes to attracting your audience, right? Tell your story, really connect with them, attract the most perfect leads back to your sales castles, what I like to call it, back into your funnel. Right? This podcasting is the number one way, right, to actually grow, and the fastest way, and really the most fun way, because you're talking about the thing you're most passionate about. The challenge, right, of course, when it comes to podcasting is finding great shows, right? How do I connect? How do I find the right shows for me? I'll meet with people regularly and I'll ask them, what type of shows do you want to get booked on? What do you want to speak about? What's the audience? And a lot of times this is like they're deer in the headlights. Right? I'm not really sure. I don't know who I want to speak to. I don't know what I want to speak on, right? So those that come and they're like, I already know the exact stages. I know who my audience is. I know what my message is. Like, we can plug you into podcast host instantly, right away into our network. In fact, in the first 10 days, we're going to get you booked on 10 podcasts. If you are still tweaking your message, you're trying to refine it, kind of test out some waters and figure out who is my ideal audience, what is that message that I want to get booked on. Being on a podcast is actually a really great practice ground for you, because you can start out with some of those newer shows, those newer hosts, and practice out some messaging, road test some of the things that you want to talk about, road test your lead magnet, your call to action, and go and get booked on some of those starter beginner shows. You'll help the host by being a fabulous guest, right? And they'll help you by giving you an opportunity to share your message out in front of an audience, right? Because I think a lot of times we can overthink things, right? We can be at home, we can be testing out, figuring out, reworking it, and waiting until everything is perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect to get started. Go and have a conversation. If you can dial in on and have a conversation on something you're incredibly passionate about, something you love to speak about, and you're doing that week in, week out, you're going to get really amazing at it. You're going to be so, like, all the jitters are going to go away. All the questions about it are going to go away. You're going to be so calm and comfortable in this position, and you're going to be really excited about what it is that you're sharing. My speaker coach once told me the first 100 stages are practice. I say that to my clients all the time. The first 100 podcasts can be practice, right? What great practice ground for you to actually go out and share your message on a consistent basis. So if you think about, what is the thing you're most passionate about? What's your message? What do you want to speak about? Who is the audience? Now we can easily match you up with what are the right shows for you. Who's the right host? What are the right networks? What's the right community? It all comes together. Something else to really think about is you only have to have one core topic, one core message that you're sharing on these first 50 podcasts. As you develop your story and you get more stronger at it, I think a lot of times people think, well, we get bored, right? We get bored. Like, I'm speaking on that, and I think that I have to change it because I'm bored with the messaging. But truly, you don't have to change it. You can stay in that same lane, stay with your message, stay with the number one topic, your core subject, and become the expert, the go-to, the referral partner. I call it your media magnet, right? If you think about a magnet, right? You've got a magnet, brings things together, right? I stick a piece of paper on my refrigerator and the magnet sticks it together. And think about your expert topic, the thing you talk about, your expertise as your magnet. This is why I really focus on one topic, and I encourage my clients to stick with one topic for 1 year and scale it up, right? Monetize it, attract the leads, build the audience, monetize it. Once you've hit a place where you've covered that, you're like, it's growing, it's monetized, I'm super happy with it. Maybe now I'll dabble in a couple other things and try something else in addition to. But in the beginning, I'd rather you have one core signature topic that you are just absolute the master of versus I have 3 or 4 different 5 things I could talk about. Later, you can always add more, but in the beginning, until you've monetized and grown your business and established the foundation, stay in that space of just one core topic. This is your magnet. So when people think I want to be a podcast guest, they think of Angel. And when they think of Angel, they think I can be a podcast guest. Like that's my magnet. What is it that is your magnet? Now I can find shows that want to talk to their audience about being great podcast guests, right? Using podcast guesting for lead gen, right? To build your message, to build your following, to become an influencer, to monetize, to attract more leads, to make more money. So I can stay and I'm actually invited into places where I belong, right? Where I'm a good fit. Now, I don't want to be on shows and talking to audiences that don't think sharing your story is a good idea. If they're like, you know what, paid ads is the only way that I'm going to grow my business, I don't need to be there to try to convince somebody to do it differently. I just want to help you take your excitement and take your message and make it easier for you to do the thing you want to do. So if you are excited about getting booked on podcasts, you're my people, right? Like I just want to talk, I want to share, I want to connect, I want to connect deeply. I don't want to try to compete with all the noise of social media. I don't want to have to pay for Facebook ads. I don't want to have to do 20 videos a day. I just want to share my story. You're my people. That's what you want, is to go on a podcast where you're their people. You're the guide through the jungle. You've been through this journey. You've been on the other side, and you're going to guide them through how to get there, what potholes to avoid, right? Duck under the limbs and avoid the sand traps, right? All of that. You get to be the guide in their jungle. And as the guest on a podcast, they're excited to hear your journey, your stories, your tips, right? All of that. So lots of different ways that you can find shows, right? There are apps, there are social media groups, there's lots of different like resources for finding shows. What we've done is we've created a network and a community. We've built relationships with podcast hosts. We attract them in because they need guests. We nurture them, we love on them, we give them opportunities to feature their show and to shine. And every week we're inviting at least 10 new hosts into our network. In the last month, we've actually grown. We've added about 50 new shows into our network. So we're constantly going out in front of you and opening up those doors. We have people that tell me like they'll hire a VA and go out and cold pitch and they'll try to reach out, and the rate of return from the number of responses they actually get to the number of connections and the actual bookings is closer to 1%, right? So you gotta have a lot of volume. You gotta do a lot of reach out. Our volume, we actually are closer to a 60%, which means for every 3 shows you reach out to, you probably get booked on 2. So, and the only reason we can create that is because we've gone ahead. It isn't cold pitching. You're not a random stranger. You're a friend of mine, right? You come in because you're connected with Angel, and that opens up doors, right? That opens up doors. So we connect our clients with our network, that database of podcast hosts who apply to be in our network. But we've also built this free, amazing community, Need a Guest, where you can connect directly with podcast hosts as they post. I need a guest. You can put an introduction about this is who I am, this is what I speak on, these are the types of shows I'm looking for, and those podcast hosts can connect directly with you. So go where you fit, right? Make sure you've got a strong message, one core message, you know who your audience is, and get involved with a community where there are podcast hosts who are looking for guests. It's going to be a fast and easy way for you to fill your calendar with podcast opportunities. What happens after the show, right? Kind of after the mic. Is that what I call it? Yep, after the mic, right? Monetizing your list. So we're getting on shows because we are doing lead gen, right? We want to grow our email list and grow our following. That's why we're getting booked on shows. We want to make that impact. But if it's not monetizing, it's not converting, our list isn't growing, we're not adding more people into our community, onto our email list, onto our following, it can start to feel like an absolute waste of time, right? And maybe you've been there. You're like, I've gotten on some shows. No, the needle hasn't moved at all. I'm still in the exact same place. I don't have any more leads in my email. I don't have any extra clients, right? I'm not making any more money. And so after the mic, we do like inside Media Firestorm, we know that because like getting booked is only one part of the equation. And we've solved that. We've solved that in a massive way. I can get you booked on podcasts starting today. Here, go into my Facebook group, connect. There are podcast hosts looking for guests. As a client, we're going to get you booked on your first 10 podcasts in 10 days. But after the mic, how do we prepare for that podcast interview? How do we make sure that that interview is set up to really generate more leads, grow my email list? And then how, once I've got them on my list, how do I convert those leads into paying clients? So the other thing is making sure you've got a great lead magnet, a great call to action, something that's people, the audience is going to get excited about connecting with you. So they're willing to give you their email address in exchange for this fantastic prize, this fantastic gift. And so think about what is it that people get excited about? What can you give away for free that has incredible value? About when the audience hears it, they're going to be clamoring to get it. I was just on a call with somebody today, and he's like, "Do you want my 12-minute, you know, um, recording? I'm going to teach you this." I'm like, "Yep, absolutely." Right? Gives it to me for free. Now, it's his video sales letter, right? It's his VSL. So I know throughout those 12 minutes, probably by the end of it, I'm going to want to book a call with him, right? The thing with podcasts is podcast listeners listen to podcasts. So if you have something they can listen to, that's a great conversion, right? Because you know they're listening and they can listen to you right away. They can go a little deeper, right? You can go a little deeper by giving them a 12-minute recording, a 20-minute recording. We would recommend three in a row, right? 3 20-minute episodes gives you 60 minutes to add value and to connect with that listener who already discovered you on one of their favorite shows, right? One of their favorite podcasters. Now they go in, they're listening to even more, right? By the time they get done with that, they're going to want to reach out and connect with you. The other freebie, right, that we use that's been really effective for us is building a community, right, and a place where people can come in and get value and connect and build relationships, and right, and we can nurture them. So whatever your freebie is, your lead magnet, it's a way to take them from somebody else's audience and bring them into yours. So we also offer we have a 6-month coaching program where we'll coach you through how to monetize and how to use email podcasting in order to grow your business. But for you, like today, the number one thing that you want to make sure that you have is a great call to action, a great lead magnet that's going to encourage the audience to take action. When I was in broadcasting, the call to action was always where I could tell somebody was not prepared. Right? I've interviewed over 5,000 people. I've hosted over 2,500 broadcasts. And I will tell you that so many of our audience, so many of our guests, this is the thing that they struggled with. And it's the thing that most of my clients struggle with too when they first meet us. They don't have a good call to action. Go to my website, go over here and buy my book on somebody else's platform, right? Go and follow me on a social media platform. They're not getting them in their castle, which means their list isn't growing, they're not monetizing, and they're feeling frustrated that podcast guesting isn't working for them. Having a good message, knowing who your audience is, connecting with great podcast hosts, and then having a way to convert their audience into your audience is critical for getting yourself out on more podcasts and for sharing your message. So hopefully that was helpful. Some great tips. I know I covered a lot in this short period of time. We can go even deeper. We can answer some more questions if you want to book a call, bookwithangel.com. But in the meantime, just go to needaguest.com, plug into our Facebook group, get booked on podcasts, introduce yourself as a great podcast guest, and tag me in a message. Let me know that you're there. And if you want more information, you want to follow up with me, you want to go a little deeper, go to bookwithangel.com and we can talk about how we can get you booked on 50 podcasts in the next 6 months. Cheers.